Nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday edition. Of course, they're all Sunday editions going forward, as you may know from now. I have stepped in and I'm very honored to be doing this time slot that was built up and really created and owned by Peter Booth for so long. And we wish Peter all the best as he continues to recover in his journey there. So let's take care of some housekeeping this morning. Of course, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That's the way you get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. The text line is up and running at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. You text that like you would anything else. It appears on the screen here in the studio in real time. So we like to have the text line. Don't forget the station does stream 24/7 to the TuneIn app like thousands of other radio stations do, which means you can take us anywhere. I love this feature. If you don't have the TuneIn app, it does take seconds to download, and just simply click that you'll see our logo. Hit that click button there, and we know you're there, and then we're very easy to find. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN, and she'll do that, no questions asked as well. And of course, I do stream my show multiple locations. You can watch and listen to us on the WCRN Facebook page and YouTube channel, as well as my social media platforms at Joe Mangiacotti Show, M-A-N-G-I. So that would be LinkedIn, Twitch TV. Of course, you can also do it on X and Facebook, and we do stream live to Rumble. So multiple ways to watch, multiple ways to listen. Russ is behind the board today. He's flying the board behind the glass. He will get you set up and into the studio at 508-871-7000. Joining me shortly on the show is going to be Tom Donaldson. Tom is a senior fellow at the Frontiers of Freedom Institute with me, and author, President of America's PAC. And of course, you hear him in the Donaldson File in the weekly report. We'll discuss last night's event a little bit. And let's talk about that, because last night I was coming home from dinner with friends and the news reached me. My colleague, Jerry Doherty, texted me just minutes after we hung up with each other. We were chatting from our cars while we were both driving home, and it hit me right in the gut, because it took me straight back to March 30th of 1981. And I was a kid, a teenager, hanging out with my buddies, and my buddy's brother came running out of the house yelling, "Hey, Reagan's been shot." And my very first thought, before I even knew the details, was the zero factor. You know what I'm talking about. Every president elected in a year ending in zero had died in office. And my first thought was, damn, it's 1980. It's coming true. William Henry Harrison, 1840, with pneumonia, 1 month into his administration. Abraham Lincoln, 1860, he was assassinated. Of course, you know that. James Garfield, also assassinated, elected in 1880. William McKinley, 1900, assassinated. Warren G. Harding, 1920, he died in office. Franklin Roosevelt, 1940, died in office. And then, of course, 1960, JFK was assassinated. Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980. He broke this curse, though, but only because Secret Service agents, local police, in sheer heroism, saved his life outside the Washington Hilton Hotel. He was shot while coming out of a different entrance of that same hotel after speaking at the AFL-CIO event. And last night, history tried to repeat itself at that very same hotel. A 31-year-old man from Torrance, California, Cole Thomas Allen, of course he's going to have three names, right, checked into the Hilton as a guest. He came armed. Apparently, he traveled across the country from California in a train with a handgun, a shotgun, multiple knives. And around 8:30 last night, he sprinted through the lobby like he was auditioning for a Warner Brothers cartoon. Now, Warner Brothers may want to file a copyright infringement lawsuit on the assailant for his impersonation of Speedy Gonzalez. He plastered past security checkpoint, opened fire, hit a Secret Service agent square in the chest. That agent is alive and well today because he was wearing body armor. Thank God for that. Allen never reached the ballroom. He was tackled, cuffed, and taken into custody within seconds. No innocent guests were hurt. The president and everyone inside were evacuated safely. Remember, we had the top three secession right there: the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, Secretary of State. This was crazy. This should have been, or was, the most secured and protected room in all of the country, maybe the world, last night. And this guy was staying in that building, and they were packed in there. I believe it was a record number of people attending this. And the irony, there were members of Congress in there who refused to do the funding that would pay the same people who saved their lives last night. But that's another discussion. Let's get into that with Tom. But let me say this loud and clear. Thank God for the multi-layered security that was in place. The Secret Service, the Capitol Police, the local DC officers. They did their jobs at lightning speed. And after the Reagan attempt in 1981 at that exact same hotel, protocols changed forever. Magnetometers, bigger perimeters, better screening. Last night, those lessons paid off. Yeah. But here's the thing. Even with all those layers, a registered hotel guest still got that close, that fast. So we're going to be asking some hard questions in the days ahead. Do every guest at these events, even the ones not attending the dinner, need to be fully vetted days in advance? Because if you're staying at the Hilton while the President of the United States is an entire cabinet are inside, you don't get a free pass. This was the third assassination attempt on President Trump that we know about. First in Butler, Pennsylvania in July of 24, when the bullet grazed his ear, and it was millimeters. And if he hadn't turned to his right to look at that big, beautiful chart, it would have been a very different situation on that stage that day. And a hero firefighter, Corey Carpentaro, lost his life. And the second at the golf course in Florida in September of 24. And that man spending the rest of his life in prison. Now this, 3 times in less than 2 years. And it's not just Trump. Last April, a man named Cody Balmer scaled the fence at Governor Josh Shapiro's mansion in Harrisburg, threw Molotov cocktails, and set the place on fire while the governor, his wife, and their kids were inside celebrating Passover. Balmer wanted to assault the governor with the sledgehammer. He's doing serious time now, but the message was clear. And don't forget the attack on Paul Pelosi with that unstable person and a hammer to his head. In June 2025, a gunman disguised as a police officer assassinated Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband in their home. A politically motivated hit. He also shot State Senator John Hoffman and his wife, and they survived. Then in September of 25, conservative activist and founder of Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, was gunned down by a sniper while speaking at Utah Valley University. His wife, Erica, was there last night, visibly wrecked, emotional. She just wanted to go home. This had to be a nightmare for her. And a nightmare for a lot of these journalists, because I know that they often try to make themselves part of the story. But remember, a lot of these journalists that were there, some of them hardened. They've covered wars. They've been in sticky situations, but usually not in a tuxedo with their wives or husbands next to them. and they felt vulnerable. They didn't know what was going on, and they were diving under tables. And all of these cabinet secretaries have their own details. So when you watch the video and you see the guys jumping across the chairs and tables, they're probably the details trying to get to their particular protectee type of thing. So for a lot of these journalists, this was a very different way of being in and covering the news. And for Erica Kirk to be in a situation where shots are fired at an event you're attending months after your husband was brutally assassinated in front of the world, I can't even imagine. The raw pain on her face told the whole story. One shot to the neck in front of thousands. It was a political assassination, plain and simple. And this is not an isolated incident here. This is a pattern, and the pattern has a fuel source. The nonstop, unhinged rhetoric coming from the left and the progressive elites for years. They've called Donald Trump Hitler, a Nazi, an existential threat to democracy, a man who's destroying America. Celebrities and late night hosts have joked openly about somebody needs to take the shot, get your aim right. He needs to go by any means necessary. This absolute jamoke, Hassan Piker and others, have crossed that line. The Lincoln Project crowd and their fellow travelers posted disgusting comments within minutes of last night's attempt. And meanwhile, at the very dinner where this happened, the press corps was wearing little pocket squares protesting freedom of the press and free speech. Give me a break. These are the same people who spent 4 years of the Biden administration ignoring the obvious cognitive decline happening right in front of them. The same people whose allies in the FBI and the White House pressured social media companies to censor, shadow ban, and deplatform anyone who disagreed. It's absolutely crazy. The same people were doing this. Now, White House pressured the social media companies to censor and all that, especially on COVID, especially on the 2020 election, especially on the border. They created disinformation boards. They debanked conservatives. They destroyed careers of doctors and scientists who were more qualified than the ones they forced us to listen to. They did exactly what they accused Trump of wanting to do, except Trump never did it. The irony is thicker than the Hilton steak dinner. And right after the shots rang out last night, some of these same voices could not hide their disappointment. That tells you everything. It's also disgusting. Folks, we have to turn the temperature down. Right now, we need a national reset on rhetoric. Words matter. When you spend years telling unstable people that the president is literally Hitler and the end of the republic, some of them are going to believe you and act on it. We've seen it too many times now. But turning down the temperature also means enforcing the rule of law at every level. This is where the broken windows theory does come in. Every time someone blocks traffic in the name of a protest, or smashes a window, or trespasses on government property, threatens a public official online or in person, and walks away with a slap on the wrist, or worse, no charge at all, we send the signal that the rules don't apply to political violence. That signal has been received loud and clear by the unstable. Lowest level crimes against elected officials, candidates, or their families must be prosecuted swiftly, seriously, and with real time served. No more catch and release. No more, it's just a protest. The tolerance we've shown for years has created the free-for-all we're living through now. Now, President Trump said last night, his planned remarks at the dinner, the ones where he was finally going to rip into the press the way they've ripped into him. Remember, he hasn't gone to this White House Correspondents' Dinner ever before. This is his first time going. Well, he said it will probably be toned down now out of respect. That's class. But the press doesn't get a pass. In 30 days or sooner, when the next big event happens here, we need answers on security protocols for hotel guests who have nothing to do with the dinner. And speaking of big events, tomorrow the King and Queen of England arrive for a state visit. Secret Service and Royal Protection details are already coordinating, and I hope every protocol is being reviewed again this morning. Look, I'm a detective by trade, and I've spent my life following evidence, not narratives. The evidence right now is clear. The hate-filled targeting of one man, and by extension, millions of us who support him, is producing real-world violence. We cannot allow it to continue. We must demand better from our media, from our celebrities, from our elected officials on the left and the right. Prosecute the criminals, protect the innocent, lower the temperature, return to common sense. That's the only way this stops. So we're taking your calls this morning at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is up and running, of course, at 617-297-8388. What do you think? Has the left's rhetoric gone too far? Should every hotel guest near presidential events be screened? And what does turning the temperature down actually look like in practice? Before we go too far, I want to bring into the conversation Tom Donaldson, host of the Donaldson Files and author and a few other things there. Good morning, Tom. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you doing? No,
I'm doing good. A late night because you let the news run, and next thing I know, it's 2 a.m. But like I said, I was coming home from dinner with some friends, and Jerry Doherty from the station, he called me about something, and minutes after I'm walking in the door, I get a text from him, and I turn on the TV, and I'm like, come on, how many times is this going to happen, Tom?
Well, I'm going to make 2 points. I'm going to make several points here, but to follow up what you just said. But let's start with the story of the SPLC paying off hate groups. And let's not forget, this is a group that basically put Turning Point on a hate list. Yeah. And we know what happened to Charles Cook afterwards. So you asked the question, what does it mean? Well, first of all, it means one thing. It means that those people who are part of the establishment, and I'm talking about, the SPLC is not just some fringe group. This is a group that had been part of the left-wing establishment for decades.
And it's not like it was a secret, right? I remember being a young reporter, and when I first heard of SPLC and kind of saw what they were doing, I realized they're clearly biased in what they're doing. It's not like even when the ACLU, they're supposed to protect freedom of the speech and stuff, but you notice they're always slanted, right? They're not jumping in when the conservative is being harassed in front of the abortion.
Here's the thing. Let's begin. You asked this one question. Let's take the ACLU. I could remember a time and place where the ACLU would defend anybody. Look, this, some 50 years ago, this is a group that basically told a group of a Jewish neighborhood saying, look, we hate Nazis, but they have a right to free speech and right to parade through your neighborhood like any other group, as long as they stay within the law. Mm-hmm. They don't do that today.
No, you're only allowed to have protests in look what they did to Kavanaugh in his neighborhood. They did it to Tucker Carlson, all this stuff. If you are the right, for crying out loud, Tom, during the COVID and the lockdowns, as long as you wanted to protest from the left perspective, COVID didn't apply to you. I guess the virus gets a memo that these are protected class, but if you wanted to just go to church, even in your car, right? Remember the churches were doing, you parked your car and they had a speaker system?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was in Kentucky, was a good example. I think that was in Kentucky. And I guess to me, the point will be very simply put. You asked the question, it comes down to, it means those in the media and those on the left have to basically say, clean up your mess. There's an old saying from the Bible. before you go dealing with the speck of my eyes, take the log out of your eyes first.
Yeah.
And it means that, people like Piker, they ought to be persona non gratis. And 20 years ago, they would have been persona non gratis.
I don't know why that guy is on every talk show now. The left, and notice the left doesn't have a great track record. And I just want to remind folks, this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show now Sunday mornings. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. We're going to go to the phone, but Mark was holding. Mark, please call back. I know you called during the monologue, so there was wait time there. 508-871-7000. But the left, Tom, does not have a good track record, right? They would remember they built up Adavani, right? He had like 200 appearances on cable news in a matter of months.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he turned out to be a scumbag. They've done this. They pick these people and they prop them up. And
but I mean, here's the difference. I mean, Vonnie, say what he want to say, Vonnie. He was a grifter, but he wasn't sitting there calling for the assassination. Piker,
no, not at all. What I'm saying is they don't do a good job. So now this Piker guy
is calling for assassination. I mean, he basically.
Why? You give him oxygen, right?
Yeah.
You give him oxygen. Look, Tom, let's pause. Let's go to the phones for a second. Mark has called back, waiting patiently to come on. Good morning, Mark. You look marvelous.
But I don't feel marvelous because we had the third assassination attempt on our president, Donald J. Trump. Yeah. And lo and behold, the guy that the alleged perpetrator who killed, I don't know, got close to killing so many people, and ain't even funny. He was so heavily armed. He had a high-powered handgun, probably a 9mm. He had multiple tactical knives on him. He also had a shotgun with him. How did he was so close to that ballroom? It looked like it was in the lobby area of a hotel or something. So he got through the outside perimeter. By the way, that was designated a high risk area, a high security area before the event ever took place. Bearing that in mind, this guy got through the outer perimeter of checkpoints. He got into the lobby. He was almost to the back door where they opened fire on him. The guards. One of the guards, a Secret Service officer, he's lucky he's alive. I think he got gut shot with either the 9mm or the shotgun.
Thank God he had body armor on.
And he's one sore hurting unit this morning, I'm telling you. And but anyways, how did this all take place? What happened? What was the breakdown in security? This is the third time this has happened. What is going on with the security? Is he going to have to shut down all public venues and go into seclusion in the White House?
No, he was asked that last night, Mark, because he went back to the White House. He wanted to continue. He told them reset the place.
Yeah, I know he did.
So he went back. The security said it ain't happening. It would take 5 hours to clear that room. So they went back to the White House. He did his thing. He was asked that. And he said, no, that's ridiculous. So I stop indoor, then I can't do anything. Trump's not going to do that. He's going to turn to the Secret Service, DOJ. He's going to tell those people, you do your job. He's putting a lot of faith in them.
The point I'm making.
Oh, absolutely. That's my opening monologue.
I forgot to mention it. Lo and behold, the alleged perpetrator was a school teacher from California.
Teacher of the year in one case.
Isn't that shocking that he's a school teacher from California?
Yeah, it's absolutely it's crazy. So those are the people. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
So those are the people. Yeah, think about that. Those are the people who are teaching our kids, folks. And to Mark, to your point. So that's why in my monologue the question was, hey, what is the protocol there if you're a guest at the hotel? Are your bags searched? Is your room searched? Are you vetted? Because he got through the outer perimeter because he was already in the building. The calls coming from inside the house. So he's already in the building. The only thing I could see that I would do maybe a little different in that video the president posted, Tom, I don't know if you see it, when the guy is jacking through the outer lobby and he runs right by the Secret Service guys because you see them pull their weapon. I mean, he was Speedy Gonzalez. This guy was like Roadrunner going through there. And the only thing I'd do is maybe apply the same principles we do with traffic or roadways leading up to secure area and make it kind of a maze that you can't run bolt on straight at those doors, that you've got to kind of serpentine through some planters or checkpoints. I know they got to move thousands of people through that. I get all of that. But the point being, this guy just had that straight run, and he ran by like 4 Secret Service who had no idea what the hell was going on until he was already died.
I'm going to throw another point, because here's the problem you run into. I'm not sure, you're never truly going to be perfectly able to protect a president or any public official. And the question is, the last thing you want to do is be able to stop public events, because that's what they want.
Yeah.
That's part of what they want. They want to stop the debate, public event. They want people so scared that if they go to an event, they're at risk. And I think we need to basically, say, we're not going to give in to that. And I think that this is part of the game plan. And the other game plan goes back. And again, I'm going to go back to the point you and I have been making all along. We've been making this for, months now, but now it's coming full circle, because the media has had to witness this for themselves, this hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Because and many of them could easily have been victims of this hatred. Because I guarantee you, this guy, if he got through with that 9mm, he's just going to start. He'll aim at the president, but he's starting shooting everywhere.
But Tom, think about this. Yeah. This was a room. If he got in those doors, that room was loaded with weapons, because you had security details for every cabinet member, the Secret Service. And when I see the people who were on the dais there saying they see the Secret Service running at him with rifles drawn, and then all of a sudden they were saying there was Secret Service coming up from behind us. We have no idea where they came from. They just magically appeared and telling him to dive and so forth. So you had a room full of weapons that would have been shooting back at this guy. Yeah. I'm sorry, collateral damage would have happened.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I mean. And that's the collateral damage. So we're lucky he got only as far as he did. And I just think, but I'm going to put it back this way. It's time. I go back to the old saying, before you go look at a speck of my eye, you better get the log out of your eyes first. And I think we'll see. This is where that media has to basically sit down and say,
hold on, we're against the clock, folks. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side with Tom Donaldson, Joe Mangiacotti. Stick with us.
This is Radio Central, 830 WCRN, Worcester.
Stevens, authorities saying 31-year-old Cole Allen now in custody after allegedly firing shots outside the ballroom of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where President Trump and other officials were last night. Authorities searching Allen's Hilton hotel room in D.C. and his Torrance, California home. Fox 11 LA's Matthew Sedor from Torrance.
They're still working on getting a search warrant. Dozens of neighbors are out here, and all of them just shocked this happened.
Washington, D.C. Interim Police Chief Jeffrey Carroll.
We know the individual charged a checkpoint with a firearm in his hand. We know he was running in the direction of the ballroom that the president was in, as well as other cabinet members. So what his specific motivation was, we can't say at this point.
Police saying Allen stormed the magnetometer outside the ballroom, opened fire, hitting a Secret Service officer. The suspect will be arraigned on Monday. The agent hospitalized, expected to recover. America's listening to Fox News.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking.
I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TAXI for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TAXI for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TAXI.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour here of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, now on Sundays. And again, I'm so honored to be taking up the Peter Blute time slot that he has built up for years and years. As Peter works on his health and his road to recovery, I am happy and honored again to be here Sunday mornings. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available, and our text line is up and running, and that's simple. Text 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, like you would anyone else. It appears on a screen here in the studio in real time. And don't forget, I do stream the show, so multiple ways to watch. You can go to the station's Facebook page, a YouTube channel, and you can go to my social media at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. That would be X, Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and Rumble. And joining me in our virtual studio from Iowa is Tom Donaldson, fellow senior fellow at the Frontiers of Freedom Institute out of D.C., where we served together there. And Tom, an author of multiple books and president of America's PAC. So that must be fun. Yeah, take your book, show your book to our viewers, America at the Abyss. Are we going to survive? I got to tell you, in my monologue, Tom, I talked about broken windows theory. And I seriously think that the rhetoric that's coming out and has turned up the temperature, when you add that to the fact that these DAs and governors, right, the sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, these protesters either weren't charged with anything when they actually clearly broke the law multiple ways with damage, burning down a police station, smashing windows, looting, lasers in the eyes, right, throwing frozen water or cans of peas at office, like all the stuff they did, all criminal. Right? They crossed the line of peaceful protests a mile ago. We're way out of that arena. There's no consequences if you're protesting from the left. And therefore, the message is, if we agree with you that, say, the Biden administration and the Democrats agree with you, not a lot of consequences. I say, if we apply the broken windows theory there, and all those people that were doing these minor things, the violence, blocking the roads and stuff, ended up with 30 days in jail and $1,000 fine, how quick would other people have been willing to break the law?
How about take them even a step further? Is it time to start using the RICO Act? Because these things are also organized from far beyond. I mean, let's be blunt. If we sat back, follow the money. One of my favorite X site is a lady, the Data Republican. I don't know if, she's a very fascinating lady. I mean, she brings all the receipts. And over the years, she's talked about many of these groups, these various NGOs. And she's basically followed, as you say, she's followed the money.
Yeah.
And the importance of all of this is that the time has come, quite frankly, to start following the money. I'm going to go back. How many people in the past week have defended the SPLC as if somehow or another what they have done over the years is right?
Yeah.
If I was a donor or if I was a pundit on the left and I find out that this organization was funding racist organizations, was involved, you would think, give me my money back. Hey, you've embarrassed us. This is ridiculous. But they're being defended as
Tom,
opposed to being ostracized.
I think the person, right, CP, she had on there the total assets composing America NGOs, and folks, these are non-government organizations, which we send them we send them your tax money, right? USAID and all that. So right now, American NGOs has a $14.2 trillion value. That's more than some major countries' GDP. They take taxpayer funds that are broadly tax exempt. So even 5% fraud rate in these NGOs is almost $1 trillion. But we know it's far greater than 5%. To your point, the amount of money, and all it is it's a card trick. It's a shell game, because these NGOs are operating with taxpayer money, which means that your taxpayer money goes into the general fund. The government has been redirecting it to the NGOs. You have no say in that. And it could be going to many NGOs that you have no desire to support. But let me pause here, Tom. We got to take a call. We got the phone lines open and hot, 508-871-7000. Ken in New Hampshire. Good morning, Ken. What say you? Tom Donaldson and myself are on.
Good morning, Joe and Tom. Yesterday morning, it was the first time I heard that, there's a White House correspondent. They still have those White House correspondents? And
for decades, yeah.
Going to it? Sound like this had nothing to do with premonitions that it was going to be a third attempt. It's like, why bother? What are you doing? Well,
I think Trump was planning revenge, Ken. I really do.
Oh, that's why. But here's the point.
Mm.
You will never, ever see a Republican president ever go to one of these events again. Period.
No.
For a simple reason. Think of what is just in the ether of the room. 90% of the people there hate the person who is the president that's there. Oh, it makes it real easy for somebody to do like this guy tried to do, doesn't it? When it's just emanating through the ether.
Mm.
Dumb. I'm not even going to comment about secret stuff. I don't know. President, what are you doing?
Well, I got to tell you, Ken, it certainly, Trump didn't miss the opportunity to point out how much better it would have been if it was held at the White House ballroom. With that, will hold 1,000 people, and how secure. And it is going to be very secure, because that hundreds of millions of dollars they're they're upping the bunker under it. And this ballroom isn't a Trump Tower or Trump International Ballroom. This thing has, of course, bulletproof windows and ventilation systems that can filter out gas attacks. It has hidden weapons. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's not your normal ballroom. Plus, they're taking the opportunity to expand and build the bunker under the White House under this thing. And they're doing that supposedly covertly. But he took the opportunity to point out, this is why we need a ballroom. This is why for 150 years, every president has said, geez, we should have a ballroom. But I don't know if I agree with ever. I think if a J.D. Vance is president in 2029, I could see him going, because him and Rubio, they are not people that are going to be intimidated. Trump wanted them to reset the tables and serve the food last night for that reason. He doesn't ever want these terrorists or acts of violence like this to alter our behavior. And I get that, and I agree with that. I don't know about serving dinner last night. I think people were too shaken up to enjoy themselves. It would not have been the same thing. They need to reschedule it. Yeah.
Well, I think, this whole thing, what it comes down, again, it goes back to what we have been discussing all along, and you and I have been discussing this for months on the weekly report, is that the entire premise is to make people scared, especially those that are on our side. If you go out someplace, you go support somebody, you're going to be targeted. And I think, there's a point somewhere where society has to sit back and say, no, we're not going to be scared anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have to go back to the broken window theory, namely, these people things need to be shaken up, because we have had for the past decade, literally, prosecuting attorneys in various locations basically saying, if you're a criminal, you can walk.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you shoplift, who cares? Break a window, who cares?
Who cares?
Stop stop highways from functioning, who cares?
Yep. Who cares? And Ken, what's your take on that? The part where I talk about the broken windows, the fact that they have not been prosecuted and held responsible for the lesser, and I only mean lesser of trying to kill the president and cabinet members, but still serious crimes. Ken, your take on that? Should these people have been gotten away? They were, because when it was happening, I know I was saying, well, this is ridiculous. Why is there a double standard of legal here?
Because it probably always will be. They own 90% of the legal. They are at war with the Republican Party. They won't even allow judges to go through the Senate. This is all out, folks. You got to realize we are in the 21st century, and the future of the nation is at hand. Just follow what happened with the Hassan Piker interview on Thursday. It was titled New York Times Morality Panel. Oh, and they had such a nice set of couches in white. Everything looked so beautiful. And, Hassan is so handsome, isn't he? And
my God. Why are they giving this guy the oxygen? Could you, if there was a conservative that was talking as crazy as he is the other way, if there was a crazy right-winger out there talking about assassinating Nancy Pelosi or Gavin Newsom, the media would be absolutely nuts. They'd be calling for this guy's head. But they turn around because he's a Democrat or he's leftist or progressive. They give him oxygen. They prop him up.
The point, Joe, is they have turned their left side of the brain off.
Oh, absolutely.
They only emote. He's saying hideous things, evil, awful, promoting murder, micro-looting, tactical arson.
Micro-looting. I love that new forced term upon us.
It isn't the words, Joe and Tom.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that. But this constant thing, Ken, to force us to use different words to dumb down or soften it, I refuse that. I have said this. I know you've heard me say it a million times. Freedom of speech not only allows us to say what we want, but it also means we can't be forced to use words or terminology or verbiage that I missed those memos. I never voted on it, right? We can't say illegal alien, even though that's the legal terminology used in our statute. You got to say undocumented. You got to say dream it. No, my favorite thing was when Jennings was on that CNN panel, and that whoever that kid was that called them for saying illegal alien, and Jennings said, who the hell are you to tell me? No, the term is illegal alien. So I get it, the words, but I'm saying this changing of words and then admonishing you if you don't use the chosen words they decided for you, then you're an idiot. You're the bad guy. You're a fascist. No, use the words we have always used. I'm sick of that. There was a few weeks ago at some family thing, I referred to my master bedroom. And she's like, oh, one sister jumped on me. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. Because we got to stop calling it the master switch, right? The master control box, all of it. No, if that upsets you, that's more about you than me. So the terms that people use in the new language they're trying to make us use, to me, is very important. Stand your ground. You don't have to be bullied by these people.
No, yeah. I mean, again, I go back. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I just think, I would be fascinated to see what happens over the next 3 to 4 weeks. With the media and with the public figures and everything else, because it's the same Because quite honestly, is this the one first admission is that the people on the left have to understand is that they have a major problem within their own ranks that they have to deal with. You know, I contrast it. I think of it this way. You know, you may like or not like Tucker Carlson, but when he goes across certain lines, you know, the number of those on the right will say, wait a minute, we're not going there. We have, in fact, been critical of those who cross those lines. I mean, I guarantee you, Tucker Carlson has gotten far more criticism from the right than Piker has ever gotten from the left.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. I mean, the thing is, I'll go back to what, if you're going to treat these people as part of polite society, then they better be part of polite society. If they're not, you simply say you're done.
Yeah.
You know,
and you can't have
you don't go on their
goals.
shows. You condemn what they say. These are the things that you do. And there's a point somewhere where literally the people in the media have basically has to start policing their own. And they're not doing that.
Yeah. I want to remind folks that you're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. Ken from New Hampshire, are you still on the line? Do you want final thought?
Sure. The old media will die. Don't watch or listen to them. They're finished. They're never going to change.
Yeah. I mean, look at Nick Shirley, citizen journalist. They're literally trying to make a law called the Nick Shirley Law to go, you know, stop him and any ilk like him. Ken, thank you for the call. Always appreciate it, man. Have a great Sunday. All right, that was Ken from New Hampshire. Lines open and available, 508-871-7000. To join the conversation, that's 508-871-7000. Russ is flying the board behind the glass today at HQ. And don't forget, our text line is also up and running at 617-297-8388. You can text that like you would anyone else. It appears on the screen here in the studio in real time. In the virtual studio with me is Tom Donaldson. He's a senior fellow with me at the Frontiers of Freedom Institute and the host of the Donaldson Files that can be heard right here on the weekends on AM 830 WCRN. So over the next couple of days, look, they were at, you know, agents were dispatched to this guy's apartment in California. Immediately, his room was secured at the Hilton, being searched. The whole process and the investigation, Tom, is going to happen. They'll backtrack every movement. They will gather video from every ATM and traffic cam and security camera. They will be able to piece together almost every minute of this guy's movement from Amtrak train, which has cameras, all the way to DC, checking in everything. They will try to determine all of his contacts, everybody he talked to, he met. Apparently, he put the weapons together. He, you know, the train. I love train travel. I do fly, of course, but trains have a fraction of the security. Your bags aren't checked at all. You can basically get on a train with anything. You don't have the same scrutiny of, you know, TSA or anything of that nature. So yeah, and we had the kid that wanted to kill Brett Kavanaugh, right? He went across, I think he was California, wasn't he? California to
I can't remember. I don't remember. He wasn't local.
So
but, okay, here's another thought for you, because I just read this. Donald Trump is now the third most attempt assassination. Now, the second most assassination attempt by any president is now Donald Trump.
Who is the first?
Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, okay. That makes
what you would expect during a civil war. And
so how many before Wilkes Booth got him?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Will Booth got him on Lincoln's fourth attempt.
Yeah.
Now we're already at number 3 with Trump. Let's just hope that the history doesn't repeat itself.
And the other thing is, because of what it was last night, the First Lady was there. So unlike Butler and the golf course, she wasn't. She was at Mar-a-Lago or wherever. This time she was in the room with her husband. And so that's a very different thing. And so were the wives and the husbands of the cabinet secretaries, as well as the media people like Brett Baer and those people. And I heard him early this morning talking about what a fantastic job Fox Security did. and rounding up their people and getting them out of the room to a staging area and safe. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to Steve in Hudson, who's been waiting patiently. Hey, Steve, what say you?
Hi, Joe. Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I have a couple questions to see if you guys have any answers to them. Number one, the officer that was shot,
Mm-hmm.
was it crossfire, or was it the
No, he came running, shooting at them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So they did open fire on him, but they never hit him, by the way.
And how's that with all those shots going off?
Yeah. His name, by the way, folks, because, we've given the name of the POS who did this, but the Secret Service agent who was shot while protecting, I'm sorry, I'm reading my note. The agent who was shot protecting Ronald Reagan with Timothy McCarthy. I will get the name of the agent who was shot last night if it's out there. But yeah, back to your point, Steve.
If I'm not mistaken, was there more than just one person attempting this? Because they said one other assailant was killed, correct? Did I read that correctly?
I've been heard. They, at the time it was happening, they thought there could have been someone else, but as far as I know, by midnight last night, they determined that they could only find this guy. But Steve, finish your questions.
And from what I understand, he had a long gun. I mean, how is that possible?
And a handgun and several knives.
Yeah, a long gun though. It's so obvious.
Shotgun.
And what? And I know this is Monday morning quarterbacking, but why didn't they just shut the hotel down? To everybody.
Well, they sealed that room. I don't know. That's a good question. Did they seal off the entire hotel, or did they just lock down the ballroom because nobody could get in and out afterwards?
Well, they said there were guests. It was open, and they said after the shooting, it's still open to the public.
Oh, that's not good, in my opinion.
That's what I heard right before he came on and did the press conference there after. I was listening to a Fox station out of, I forget what state, I think Tampa, Fox Tampa I was listening to. Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Again, this guy had been in the hotel as a guest for a couple of nights. So I wonder if the protocol will be changed. I think eventually this event will be changed to the new White House ballroom. Going forward, I don't know if it'll
provided they're allowed to finish it.
Yeah. Well, they got a hell of a better argument now. Have they actually stopped the construction? A judge stopped it, right, Tom?
Yeah, the last time I heard it was stopped or they're on. I have no idea because it seems like every other day there's an injunction on it.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's one of those things, you can
Steve,
almost.
Did you have another question that you wanted us to field?
Yeah.
No.
All right.
No.
Awesome.
Just still stunned about.
Absolutely. And information will keep trickling out. Thank you so much for the call, Steve. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that too. Let's go to Tom in Ludenberg. Hey, Tom, good morning. What say you?
Hey, good morning. Who's the jerk they got for security? The head of security? He don't know what the heck he's doing.
Well, you had multiple agencies, Tom. You had, of course, so what happens on this? And I know a little bit about this because many, many years ago, I worked through a buddy of mine that owned Alliance Security. And back in the day, we were the local protective security guys that, they hire for the really simple perimeter stuff, nothing serious. But we did get the little pin, so Secret Service knew who we were. So they use private security and then the local police in the very far outer perimeter, like they did in Butler. Then as you get closer to the targets, the protectees, you might have agents on borrow, right? Borrow from marshals and stuff like that, FBI. And then as you get to the core area, it's all Secret Service who are really trained in that personal close-up protection. So when you ask who is the security, like the head of security for the Hilton, he was such, or he or she, I don't know what it is, would be a minor cog in this wheel. You had the Metropolitan Police, which is Washington's police, and then you had agency, Homeland Security was there with agents, and then the Secret Service runs the whole thing. So the question is, and this is the thing, Tom,
yeah,
it worked. They got him at the outer layer in the hotel. Now, you can't count the exterior perimeter because the guy was a guest in the hotel. So the question becomes, what changes are going to be made there? Are you going to be allowed to stay at that hotel if you're not attending that function? Or can you stay at that hotel if you don't get vetted and searched? Right?
I don't know. Again, I have to be honest with you, because the other aspect comes into play sometimes is, I don't know. It just seems to me that there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And if you get to that,
let Tom get his last thing in here. Tom, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Tom.
Running it, if they have common sense. Did you see when that guy was running down the aisle? Did you see how many guards there were there?
Mm-hmm.
There were 12 guards, 15 guards sitting around. None of them were blocking the aisle. When somebody comes in, you're supposed to block the aisle, put some kind of barrier, but they don't come running down like that.
Yeah.
They seen the guy, and it seemed like they didn't give a crap about their job until the guy went past them. And then they're saying, who the hell is this? I put them on parking ticket detail. They are not bright at all, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
You blocking off for nobody to get in there. You put 2 armed guards down there. Make sure nobody goes down there. It's common sense. Where the hell are we getting these people,
Okay, Tom. Yeah, we got your point. Good call. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And I understand what Tom's saying. Tom from Lunenburg, and I'm talking now to Tom Donaldson. And I think I addressed that in the opening, because the one change I would have made to Tom from Lunenburg's point is that guy had that Speedy Gonzalez run, and I would set the lobby up similar to how you set up the traffic. When you pull up to a military base or secure area, you can't just drive straight. They put the Jersey barriers, and you get a zigzag through those. And maybe they should be putting more of a channel people through a walkway, put a couple planters up, do something so you can't run full bore like this guy did towards the doors. Now, that being said, folks, it worked. The guy didn't get anywhere near those doors. I don't care how fast he was running and shooting. They tackled him. They shot at him. They tackled him. They cuffed him in seconds. And I know exactly the video that Tom is referencing, Tom, because Trump put it out there. I watched it probably 30 times. And you do see him run by that, I think, Secret Service guy who does have that look like, what the hell was that? And then he draws his weapon. But actually, Tom, we're going to have to take our bottom of the hour break right here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. In studio with me is Tom Donaldson, host of the Donaldson Files and fellow senior fellow. Back in 30 seconds, folks.
WCRN. WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices. And thought-provoking discussions.
We'll change out topics when we come back, Tom.
Okay.
Right. If you've ever worried about a parent or a loved one eating well, here's a simple solution. Heart to Home Meals delivers great tasting, ready-to-eat frozen meals made with seniors in mind. With over 150 choices, it's easy to find meals that fit different tastes and dietary needs. There's no subscription and no minimum order. And delivery is always free. Heart to Home Meals, a smart, comforting way to make sure good food is always close by. HeartToHomeMeals.com.
Looking for a station that brings you all sides of the story? Tune in to 50,000 watt powerhouse WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices, lively debates, and thought-provoking discussions. From politics and health to pop culture, you'll hear it all right here. Radio Central, where opinions from both sides come together for the conversations that matter. From the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830, WCRN, Radio Central.
Bad decisions limit future options. Stop adversity from becoming stress. Listen to The Float Line with host Rick Hughes, Sundays at 9 a.m. on AM 830 WCRN for inspiration, education, all without manipulation. The Float Line, Sundays at 9 a.m.
WCRN Radio is thrilled to bring back a legendary voice, and now you can help tell the stories. Paul Harvey captivated millions with his unique style and unmistakable voice. By sponsoring the rest of the story, your brand can become a part of this rich tradition, and it links your business with a program that people love and trust. So don't miss this unique opportunity to grow your business while becoming part of something truly special. For sponsorship details, just go to WCRNradio.com.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the second half of the 10 o'clock hour here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central, where you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Don't forget, we are streaming the show, so you can watch us on our station Facebook page, YouTube channel, my social media, X, Facebook, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, Rumble. There are multiple ways to watch and, of course, participate like Elaine in Framingham would like to do. Good morning, Elaine. You look marvelous.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, little low, but are you on the car phone or the cell phone?
Yeah, I'm driving up from Plymouth. We were down there for the weekend, so on my way home.
Yeah, still haven't got my invitation to Plymouth, but that's okay.
So maybe one of these days. That guy did get hit. He had on a bulletproof vest as well.
Yeah,
is what I heard.
The Allen guy. Yeah, I heard he had armor too. So did he get hit and not penetrated? Okay.
Right.
Thanks for that
That's
clarification.
He's like naked on the floor, and they even have like his chest is naked, and then he's got the foil on him like the marathon people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they, stripped
They
him
took
down.
it off him. Yeah,
But-
okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. The hotel, it wasn't even that you had that perimeter, and you have the hotel guests, but there were all these other side functions that were going on related to it, like VIP party, boss party. They had their own room. None of those rooms were secure. None of them. So there was a lot of holes in the security.
Yeah.
And I agree that the show must go on, but I think they just need to put the tent up in the White House and do it there. I don't think they should be doing it at any home. You can't secure it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was the point, because didn't Trump say something like, he made a reference about this not being the most secure building, and then later media people are trying to, jump on that, but it isn't. It was built to be a hotel, and it's turned out to be because there are very few venues that can have a couple thousand people in it. So yeah, look, changes are going to be made. He wants this done in the next 30 days. So does the president of the Correspondents Association also wants to do this. There's a lot. And
I was really looking forward to what he was going to say.
he's not going to give the same speech now, Elaine. He said it straight up.
I know.
But boy, I would like to get a copy of it, because he hasn't gone in 2 terms in all the time. And he was invited in the 4 years he wasn't president. He could have gone at any time. So this is the first time he's gone to this thing. So he was locked and loaded for some brutal roasting.
Yeah, but now he's got to tone it down. What I did hope was, in all of the room there, the media, all of those people all experienced something frightening, right? And will they tone it down? But then I heard this morning some of the other left-leaning things are already putting out crap. So I don't know. I haven't had a chance to really follow it so much with the baby. But I would like to think that it shocked the left side's conscience, and maybe they will finally tone it down.
Yeah. I would love that. I don't know if that's going to happen, because that's a real, look, the stuff that was coming out last night, Elaine, was so stupid. And I already within, an hour after they, went back to the White House and stuff, you've got the Lincoln Project guy on there, blaming this all on Trump. And here's the irony of this. And Tom, your take on this as well as Elaine, and I made reference to it a little earlier, is Jake Tapper and all these, jamokes are running around the pocket square or the pocket handkerchief, and they're talking about the First Amendment, and they totally, like, no self-awareness, because Jake, you wrote a book, and your colleagues at the Alphabet Places here, you guys did not exercise any First Amendment ability under the Biden years, because you were co-conspirators in hiding the cognitive decline. You were quiet when that administration was shadow banning and deplatforming, and banks were debanking. I mean, this whole crypto thing. Why is Trump so hot on it? Because they debanked the Trump organization for no other reason than it was Donald Trump, and they thought that they were going to appease to some kind of base or activists. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. But to have those people in there trying to make a point about the First Amendment when the other party is the one that actually tried to create these censor boards, truth boards, who were actually embedding FBI agents and DOJ agents at Meta in the former, X, when it was Twitter. Are you kidding me? We remember history. No. They act like we don't have any ability to put 1 + 1 together or remember. And this isn't remembering back to 1820, Elaine. We're talking the last few years.
True. But so was Jake Tapper after this? I know about the stupid pocket square, but so even after Jake Tapper was talking like a jamoke, he didn't tone it down at all?
Well, I don't know about Jake Tapper in particular, but I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't. But the guy in charge of the Lincoln Project, I saw him last night outside the hotel getting interviewed, and he's turning it, saying this is all Trump's rhetoric. No, Trump's administration wasn't debanking people, wasn't, and I know people tried to say he got Jimmy Kimmel suspended. No, he didn't. Jimmy Kimmel got Jimmy Kimmel suspended.
He got suspended. I just can't believe that they haven't suspended The View. Like, I don't even understand that. Like, the stuff that they get away with on that show is just unbelievable.
Hey, until the advertisers do what they did, because why Kimmel got knocked off for a few days is because the one of the affiliates that has like 33 stations didn't like him coming out saying clearly it was a MAGA. No, it wasn't. It was a left-leaning kid with the furry boyfriend thing. I don't mean furry that he's furry. Their kink is the furry. And it was just so stupid. And that's what got him suspended, because it was they were losing advertisers who were refusing to advertise if he stayed on. So they had to give him a break. Trump didn't make a call, as much as he tries to position it that way. Didn't happen, Elaine.
No, it wasn't him. The other thing, the whole Lincoln, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and how the whole, find people on the hoax. I thought I heard that because they raised a ton of money after that. If you saw how much their income went up from that event. And did you hear that they were going to freeze the money, that the government was going to freeze that money?
I heard in the press conference, I heard a couple things. I thought someone referenced that because their current cash available assets are pushing $800 million. So they're the better part of the way to $1 billion in value. And yeah, they had like 50 million in donations. It jumped to 110 million. Then when you look at the bigger picture, and Tom, your take on this too, because you have the Charlottesville crap that they were behind. And then Joe Biden and others ran with the hoax about Trump speaking and saying good people or fine people on both sides. And they stopped the clip. They play the clip and they tell you he's talking about the torch welding protesters. And of course, if you actually watch that video, Trump was referring to the argument of removing statues, where he said, well, you know, there are fine people on both sides of that argument. So they, just like 60 Minutes edited the tape, right? Just like BBC edited the tape, they edited the tape. And then the fact that Joe Biden says that he decided to run against Trump because of that, which was a complete lie and fabrication. And he repeated it at the debate. And not one reporter ever said, excuse me, Mr. President, or Mr. Biden, depending when it was be asked, what the hell are you talking about? Trump never said that about those protesters. He was talking about the statue argument. Do you not know that? Or did you know it and you decided to lie? Because either one's not a good answer, but which ridiculous answer are you going with?
Which, and what I would hope too is if, you know, because they're getting sued, but it doesn't, all the money they have, the money that they paid out, what, $3 million is peanuts. But I would hope that that money can be taken away from them and put to real good causes, not this fraudulent stuff.
Well, I think a good portion should go to fund the Joe Mangiacotti Show, Elaine. I think that would be a good use of funds. All right, final thought, Elaine?
No, it's just so much has been unfolding, and Dan Bongino was saying that more is coming, but he knew that what they were working on when he was in the FBI, but he couldn't comment on it. But just that a lot of stuff was going to start coming out. So the Southern Plot, that was the first thing, right? And then I'm just so looking forward to it all coming out. So,
absolutely. We all are. That's for sure. All right, Elaine, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you down in Plymouth whenever I get the invitation. Have a good one now. Thank you, Elaine. I love the calls from the car, Tom. A couple things on that. Yeah, you know, Dan Bongino has been making these I don't know, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, but that stuff is coming. And then I look at, you know, Pam Bondi getting out of here. But let's not forget, a few months ago, she oversaw indictments in the district court down in Florida. And a lot of stuff have to do with the Georgia 2020 election, the files they seized there. So I think you're going to see stuff there, and the 2020 and the 2016. So these indictments that were closed with Pam Bondi, federal government down in Florida, what the hell were they? But people have made these comments that keep an eye out. You're going to see arrests be made in the next couple months. Then you have the Elad Omar situation. And now, I don't know if you caught this, Tom, but the winery was just dissolved. So it doesn't exist anymore. And here's the thing on that. Why did her value and stuff change so drastically? And just one more thing before I throw it to you.
You mean you don't believe the fact that it was an accountant mistake?
Oh yeah, you know what, and look what she was okay. The 34 federal indictments on Trump for the 130,000 because he put it under the bit, or his bookkeeper, put it under business. If he had written that out of the campaign funds, do you imagine the story then? Yeah. So what happened there? But whatever happened, I don't care. I think the entire thing needs to be investigated. Then her immigration, because there were a couple things let out in the last few days, and Tom Homan was asked straight up about her immigration and why. Because we've been hearing for years that she supposedly married her brother so that he could come in under the friends and family plan. So the question is, why is this hard to determine? A DNA test, documentation, go look at her application. So now apparently she was really of age. She was 18 when she filled out the paperwork, so she could not have come in as a minor under her father. So my question is, what the hell's going on? And Tom Homan's answer to that is, that file is under complete review. Stay tuned. In other words, something's going to happen on that.
Well, yeah, here's the other aspect comes into play is this. My question I've always had is, her father was a member of a dictatorial government in Somalia. It wasn't like
her father was a bad guy.
Her father's a bad guy. And I keep asking myself, how is it that this family somehow or another got in on the asylum program in the United States, when in fact, for the most part, his daddy was a commie and pretty much an enemy of this country to begin with. And certainly the family has adapted all of that at this point. You know, how does this happen? That's what I want to know. I mean, this would be the equivalent of, let's say, you're finding out that somebody in 1947 was a SS guard at a concentration camp. You know, they don't stick, you know, they would have been thrown out. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, there are cases where people who have long been retired had been basically forced to be re-immigrated out of the country when it was found out that maybe they'd been 70, 80 years old at the time, but when they were 20, they were guards at concentration camps. But this lady and her family somehow or another managed to get in, despite the fact that her daddy was not a good guy, but a part of a government that, you know, basically tortured, raped, and plundered their own people.
So when she fled Somalia, it wasn't because she was being oppressed. It was her father and the regime who were the oppressors, and the tide had turned, and it was no longer safe because of the uproar. You know what I'm saying? So they got the hell out of there, just like every bad guy gets out of the bank after you rob it, or you get to a what's a country? What's the word I'm looking for that they can't bring you back? Extradition country, right? They get you do a Ponzi scheme for $50 billion. You get the hell out of the United States, and you get to some Indonesian island where they can't touch you or whatever. So that's it. But look, the bottom line with this, I'm so sick of this. And this is, I think, the frustration that a lot of conservatives, Republicans are having, saying, where the hell are the arrests? We aren't bootstrapping stuff. We're not violating statute of limitations like they did to go after Trump. And it's not payback. It's the law. If she falsified documents and lied on documents for citizenship, that absolutely can be revoked. If she's playing fast and loose with funds from the campaign or from these Somalia-owned fraudsters, whether it's daycare, transportation companies, hospice, whatever it is, and that's why she has access to tens of millions of dollars instead of thousands of dollars. What is the holdup? Investigate it. If there's wrongdoing, bring the grand jury together. But there's nothing happening. We hear about, Kerry Lake has all this stuff. I had on Clements. I don't know if you know who this guy is. He was a law professor. He has all the receipts when it comes to the 2020 election. They've tried to do everything to him and debank him, deplatform him, all of that. And if this is all here, why aren't these cases being moved forward? So let's see. I've heard from friends in DC that I have who are saying, just wait, Joe, arrests are coming. They are coming. Down in Florida, they did a bunch of indictments under closed door indictments. He said those are coming out. We just saw the Southern Law Center there get their charges brought, and of course it's going to be spun. Yeah. But think about what they did. They created this problem and fundraised off it.
Yeah, I'm going to give you one thought here, and that's this. There's a Twitter site called Shipwreck. I think Shipwreck is an attorney who used to work in the various administrations and in past And he made an observation. He said, look, the problem that Trump had is twofold. Number one, they've had troubles filling selected spots because the Democrats have basically been doing everything they can within Senate procedure. And the second aspect is from the time Obama through the present, you literally have a DOJ honeycombed with a bunch of left-wing partisans, and they're still there. And when you sit back and you say, okay, how do we prosecute these cases? Well, you literally have a limited number of people you can trust to actually prosecute the cases.
Yeah.
And that's another aspect.
There's so much crime, corruption, and fraud going on. We literally don't have enough investigators to cover it. I mean, that's mind-boggling. And when you start adding this stuff up, Tom, you look at this, and the government and the Democrats have a lot of gall to say we got to raise taxes when we have $1 trillion, in NGOs coming in, but also we have billions, not millions, billions of dollars in fraud. And we're talking about 2 states. One state had billions, but now California could be bigger than Minnesota. And I know Massachusetts, we've got a lot of it going on here. And it's just really rich to even talk about taxes. Meanwhile, let's not let the irony of last night. There were a lot of media people and Democrats in that room who have not demanded that the Secret Service, because part of the Secret Service aren't getting paid, some are through the big, beautiful bill. But don't forget, under Homeland Security, a lot of those agents that were walking around last night and that were willing to get in front of a bullet and protect everybody in that room aren't getting paid. Yeah. So what does that tell you? So I really think that this should be pushed through very fast now.
Well, they better. I mean, because at this point, there's no longer a defense of any of this as far as the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, when you have a war with a terrorist state going on, you have literally unlimited immigration coming in. You don't know, who's in this country at this point. And when you try to get rid of criminals, you've got people trying to stop it. And then the other aspect that comes in play again, and it goes down to the Trump, another problem with the Trump administration. That's very simple. You can't bring a case in the DC area and get a conviction if it's a Democrat. I mean, they literally have jury nullification in place in the DC court system at this point. Yeah, and so it goes back. Yeah.
When Trump was going on in New York, I had made, I forget what the gathering was, that look, they should really have a change of venue because, this guy is a New York jury is, 90% of people are going to hate Trump and they walk into the jury pool and someone's like, oh, you can't change the venue. Because I'm like, I think they should change it to Tennessee or Florida. And they're like, no, it would be so biased. I said, but okay, it's okay to have bias against the innocent because you're innocent until proven guilty. So it's okay that that this extreme bias against Trump exists in that docket, right? In that court. Yeah. But you don't think it should be change of venue to a more neutral or even a purple state or something? No, they lost their mind over the idea that he's not tried in New York because they knew that they didn't have to have really anything to convict him in New York. So, again, yeah, it's okay if they're slanted as long as they're slanted in our direction.
Yeah, it goes back down. I mean, people, it's like I say, I hear repeatedly, well, where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? And people better understand, it's not as simple as you think. When you don't have the
just go arrest them.
Yeah. Just go arrest them. And they said, but you got to make sure, you got all your ducks in order, and you got to make sure you're in the right place too. Yeah. Like, for example, the beauty of the SPLC is they did this in Alabama. They did this in the SPLC's backyard. But it's in a red state in Alabama. So it's not like they had to go through a DC court to get they wouldn't have even gotten the indictment. In Alabama, they at least know what a crime is.
Yeah, that's for sure. Folks, this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation from now to noon at 871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is, in fact, running at 617-297-8388. I do get some texts that, A, I can't really repeat on air, B, they're not worth it. And the really long ones, guys, pick up the phone and give a call. If you're going to write me 4 or 5 paragraphs, just call the show or send an email. And that text line, 617-297-8388. So the thing here is we're gonna learn so much more today, tomorrow. This will be days, if not weeks. Information will come. This guy will be indicted. This guy will go to trial. Jean Perro, who I've always loved her when she was on the 5 because she has a no-nonsense law and order attitude, which is all okay with me. I saw her speak last night. She rattled off a couple of the charges. They're going to hit him, and the acting attorney general spoke. They're going to get him for all the gun charges they can get, and they'll come up with more. Assaulting a federal officer, right? The intention to kill a president is a very serious crime, and if you're convicted of that, that's life right there. So we'll see this all, roll out. But I did want to get in. I don't want to shift gears, but I do want to cover some things, Tom. And one of the things I want to cover, and I think we talked a little bit about this briefly on the weekly report, is the big legal setback for Virginia Democrats, because the day after that special election, which was a really close, right? We were talking like 51-48. Voters approved the controversial redistricting there back on Tuesday, and it would have let them redraw congressional maps and try to grab up to 4 more House seats. But on Wednesday, Tazewell County Circuit Court judge, he slammed the brakes on the whole thing, ruling the process was illegal from the start and blocking certification of the results. So that fight isn't over. And that's the type of thing where we want to see this stuff, man. When there is voter fraud, tampering with the ballots and the machines, when we see this absolute blatant power grab going on that makes no sense to do it, and they literally said, "Well, we're only doing it because they, did it in another state, not your concern," and this was supposed to be temporary. We're just going to redraw the voting districts for this election. Then we'll go back to the non-part. I mean, it was so blatant crazy, and I'm glad that the judge stepped in. We got about a minute there, Tom.
Yeah, real briefly, because I'm going to say, read the Constitution of Virginia, and you'll know very clearly everything they did was in violation of it. The real question to me is whether or not, as they move up into the Virginia Supreme Court, how much pressure is going to be put on the judges to basically ignore their own Constitution.
And shame on them if they do. They have no business sitting on the bench. That's why judges are usually appointed for life, so they don't have elections. They're not supposed to be able to be swayed by political climate. They're only guiding light.
A lot of state elections, a lot of state judges are in fact elected.
State judges, yeah. Are these judges on the Supreme on Virginia's Supreme Court? Are they elected or appointed?
I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% certain one way or the other on that.
Okay,
so that's something we need to look into, because obviously,
like in Iowa,
they will have. You'll put. Ever so often.
Hold that thought, because we got a hard break here, folks. We're going to break for the 11 o'clock break here. You're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Back in a few minutes, guys. Stick with us.
You're listening to WCRN, Worcester.
We are so very thankful to members of law enforcement who did their jobs.
Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser following the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Authorities are scouring the digital footprint of the suspect, a teacher from Torrance, California. Officials believe he was targeting members of the Trump administration.
The president's cabinet secretaries who were also in attendance speaking out. We heard from the Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, who said in the face of such hatred and violence, we are reminded at how much is truly at stake.
Fox's Mark Meredith in Washington. Security protocols for Britain's King Charles are being re-examined. He is expected to arrive in the U.S. tomorrow with Queen Camilla for a 4-day state visit. America is listening to Fox News.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TAXI for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TAXI for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TAXI.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the 11 o'clock hour on the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and I want to remind you, folks, that the Joe Mangiacotti Show is sponsored this hour in part by Heart to Home Meals, delicious, ready-to-eat meals for seniors delivered free with no subscription required. And I got to tell you, I've used them. I use them. There's a few of those in my freezer. The process is so easy. You go online, you pick it, they deliver it. Once you're in there, man, they use the same delivery person, and they don't drop it in a box at your front porch or whatever. They actually come in, they put them into the freezer for you. They'll even rotate, take the dinners you have in there, move them to the front, put the new stuff in the back. They try to keep the same driver and delivery person all the time so they get to know each other. They know who you are, you know them, and their customer service is unbelievable. Heart to Home Meals, check them out, hearttohomemeals.com. Joining me in studio is Tom Donaldson, who is author of several books. The latest is Will America Survive? Or no, is America at the Abyss? What is, hold it up, Tom. America at the Abyss.
Well, America Survive.
Yeah. Also, a host of the Donaldson Files and a senior fellow at the Frontiers of Freedom Institute. That's a DC-based think tank both of us are privileged to be a part of. So, a little dry, sorry about that. Our call-in line is in the call, the line's open, available, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Ross is flying the board behind the glass today. He'll get you set up and into the studio. In our text line is also running at 617-297-8388. Text it like you would anybody else, and no problem. We'll try to work it into the conversation. So this redistricting, Tom, right, approved, very narrow, 51. It was 51.5 to 48.5. Democrats backed this constitutional amendment. It would have temporarily let the Democratic-controlled General Assembly, that's what they call it in their state. I know in Massachusetts we have reps and senators, and it would impose a new congressional map designed to flip Virginia's delegation from roughly 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans to it's an extreme, right, which would be 10 Democrats and maybe the 1 Republican in, Southern. And our president at Frontiers of Freedom lives in Northern Virginia, as did Dr. Larry. So the ruling, Tazewell County Circuit Judge Jack Chip Hurley issued a final judgment declaring the amendment and referendum invalid. And get this, Tom, from the beginning. Why did they think that something that was so in violation of the law and the Constitution would have sailed through, and it didn't sail through to the people? Why did they think they'd get away with it? Arrogance again?
I think part of the arrogance and I think in the case of the courts, they were probably just hoping the thing gets voted down so they wouldn't have to make that decision. That's always been my, that's kind of theory that I'm looking at. And interesting enough, it could be interesting. Now, if I understand the Virginia law, and if there's anybody out there who's an expert on, appointments of judges, is that the House of Delegates have to approve the judge in both of their houses. And if I'm not mistaken, there is also like a timeline where down the road, they have to be reappointed by the same House of Delegates. It's not direct elections or that there's any involvement of a direct election by the people, if I understand it correctly.
Well, I think there was politics played on our Supreme Judicial Court because, I mean, when you Kendra Brown Jackson, the one who was asked about define a woman and couldn't do that, and now you look at the decisions and what she writes, it's as if her association with the Constitution is superficial at best, because she clearly comes up with these decisions that are, again, by an activist judge, not a constitutional scholar. And even other SCOTUS justices are like, what are you talking about? How do you get there? I just, and she was pushed through, and they passed her. I mean, if a question so simple was asked from a conservative nominee, would they have passed that person? If it were, look what they did to Brett Kavanaugh, who was a good justice, and made up accusations that later these people came out and said they were making it up. And you look how they treated Amy Coney Barrett. I mean, these were brilliant scholars. There's always the rumor, Tom, that Senator, and why am I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Texas Senator. Why am I drawing a blank on him? Ted Cruz.
Right.
Man, I lost it for a second.
Cruz,
Ted Cruz could end up on the Supreme Court. What would you think of that?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad deal. I like Guy. I think he's the type of guy, he's young enough and he'd be there for a very long time. And quite frankly, he's one of these people who would not be afraid at all to make the right decision. And he wouldn't really care at this point. Once he gets on the Supreme Court, he's going to say, I know what the Constitution says. I've studied it. I've argued in front of the Supreme Court. I was I stayed at AG. So basically, I think it'd be a great choice.
Well qualified for it. I got to tell you,
he's too qualified for it.
Yeah.
I mean, based on the Jackson scenario, he may be too qualified. I mean, in the case of Jackson, I don't understand. I don't know if she's that stupid or she does know what she's doing and she doesn't care.
Right. And she's just playing one on TV. Folks, Giuliani posted a little while ago, maybe the haters can begin to supporting the White House much larger and more secure ballroom. Step one in overcoming, they're doing everything to oppose our president, even if it is in the best interest of the U.S. Yeah, no kidding. And then Marie Utzo, I don't know if you follow her at all in X, but she talked about walking towards the Hilton, to go into the correspondence dinner, and people were shouting F you at them just for simply going to attend. But when they came out after everything was happening, they were passing this little gaggle of girls. I say girls because that's how she frames it, probably teenagers. And she heard one of them say, "Oh man, I wish they got him." And the two friends giggled. And she said, that moment stopped me cold. When our young people casually cheer for violence like it's a game, we have a serious problem. Radicalization isn't some abstract issue. It's showing up casually in everyday conversations and in our kids' attitudes. And yeah, I agree with this. And there's pictures of these young people holding, cardboard signs, "Death to Tyrant." It's just crazy. Reminding folks you're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central, 508-871-7000 to join the conversations like Dawn from Stoughton did. Good morning, Dawn. You're on with Tom Donaldson and myself. What say you?
Good morning, Tom. Good morning, Joe. Yeah, no, it makes you wonder what insanity James Carville is spouting. I mean, my God, he looks like he's on some sort of psychotropic drugs as he's condemning Trump. But point in question, you were talking about judges, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Chief Scott of Holyoke, Mass. He referred to Mass judges as not worth a bucket full of warm spit, but he wanted to do a recall. And the voters in Massachusetts voted for the recall. In other words, a judge could be in office for a few number of years, and if the people did not like him or her, they could vote them out. And the people on Beacon Hill said, you don't have no right or power to do that, so we're not going to allow that to happen.
Oh, yeah, because, our legislature, Dawn, always follows our referendums and what the people say, right? Always. Look at the 72%
I don't think there's enough
who want
oxygen in your room, Joe.
Say again?
No, they do not, Joseph.
Yeah.
They do not.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I was being facetious.
Yeah.
I was hedonic there. But, 72%, right, called for the audit of the state legislature, and they just said, no, screw you. Not only that, Maura Healey's doubling down. Don't forget, we also voted not to issue driver's license to illegals in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They ignored the people's voice. So we aren't a democracy, right, Don? We're elected republic, and we elect these people to do our day-to-day work on our behalf, but they don't give a crap of what the people say. They do whatever
I guess the Constitution written by John Adams doesn't mean crap. But paying our DHS people, I've suggested to President Trump to give them all credit cards payable by the Treasury and limit it to about $2,000 a month so that they can at least get food and basics for their families. What do you think of getting credit cards to them, Joe? Tom?
I mean, we give EBT cards to illegals and put on a lot of money. I mean, why not? Here's the thing.
You noticed that. And the SNAP cards and crap like that?
Yeah. Wait, look, don't get me wrong. Don, don't get me wrong.
Serving the country.
Those safety nets do serve a purpose, and there are people who existence would be miserable if they didn't have it. And my argument to that is, imagine if we stopped giving it to people who aren't here illegally or who are double dipping or don't deserve it. How much more money would be available to those that really do need a helping hand? That I have no problem with some of my tax money going to the single mom to help her get formula for her baby. I really don't, Don. I don't have a problem.
And furthermore, Joe, they should change the system. In other words, as you advance and become more prosperous, they just reduce the amount, given to you.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is either you make it 100% or they cut everything off. And it's like, wait a second, that's stupid. That's not progressively reducing what you're giving to the needy person. As they become better acclimated and more prosperous, you can reduce what you're giving them. Just don't shut them off. But they just shut them off, Joe.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. There's a problem there with the all or nothing, because now we have generations on the social programs, meaning that they never even gave a shot of not being on there because maybe they're, and I'm not saying this across the board, but I am saying this because I know people in these situations. When I lived in Worcester and I had a group of friends I know, and I knew what they were on and how they were doing things. And I saw moms say to their teenage daughters, you should get your own place, go get pregnant. You'll get your own apartment, you'll get housing. And then when they are in that situation, I've heard moms pass advice on to their daughters saying, if you want more money or bigger unit, have another child, not caring who the father was going to be. So they would have multiple kids by multiple dads and never name the father on the birth certificate so that they couldn't go after.
You don't have to. There's no reason to account for the money you're giving away to all these folks. Yeah, it's wonderful, Joe. Last two quick points.
Yeah.
The California shooter reminded me of the Long Island shooter, the railroad. He had been living in California at a hotel, and he listed that as his address to buy a handgun, which he then brought to New York City, went to Long Island, and started shooting people on the railroad. And if they do have the dinner back at the hotel, I suggest that they have Secret Service agents in the elevators or in the elevator lobbies where people exit, and the stairwells too.
Yeah, they might be doing. Yeah, maybe. And I understand why you wouldn't want to do that, because the people who haven't been vetted for the event, like this guy, checked in. He's in the building. So there was no chance to get him on the outer perimeter because he was already in the house, right? The calls coming.
No, exactly. If they step off the elevator into the lobby where the dinner is being held, they should be stopped at the elevator and or checked. And the same thing with the stairwell and any, patio windows or anything else that you can enter into. But that's called protection in depth. But I don't know if they understood that or not, though, Joe.
Yeah, I think they were already going over, because Trump made it clear this is not going to just go away for this year. This dinner will happen, in a month or less. He obviously isn't going to use the speech he had planned for last night, which kind of, again, I love.
Oh, he's got more now, Joe.
He does, but he's going to
now.
soften it. He's not going to be as brutal as he was going to be last night. He said so. But I would like somebody to post online the speech he had prepared for last night. Tom, wouldn't that be a hoot to see?
That would be great. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
And did you have another point, Don?
Well, just quickly, you were talking about Butler before.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the police officer who peeked over the roof and saw the sniper, and the sniper turned towards him, that Butler police officer did not just reach over the roof and shoot at him, did not fire off a couple of rounds. Had he done that, Joe, that firefighter never would have died. But the cop just ran away.
I do not get that. And Trump made reference to it last night, that there was one problem at Butler, that, why wasn't somebody on the roof? And remember, if we go back to that, there was this thing where the Secret Service were blaming the local police, and the local chief, he came online and he said, let's be clear. They were not good at briefing us, communicating with us. We couldn't talk to each other, and to tell us that we didn't have anybody on the roof because it was too hot is a crock.
Yes.
That chief said, our men, my men, will be on that roof freezing, heating, hot as hell, cold as an ice. It doesn't matter to us. We had our instructions. If they had said to us, put a man on that roof, I don't care what the temperature was, a man would have been on that roof.
Give him a lawn chair and an umbrella and a cooler full of soda. I mean, that's fine. But I mean, why didn't that cop shoot at him?
And where the hell were the drones? Away. Where were the drones, for Christ's sakes? They couldn't get them working. I mean, there was so much bull. And this was because the detail was under the Biden administration. And I don't think it's Joe Biden, because I really don't think he understood what was going on most of the time. So somebody who had the power was putting, denying requests from the security detail. When you do an outdoor event, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don, you know this, when you do an outdoor event, the security has to go up a notch because it's outdoor. You need total drone coverage. You've got to be able to jam all the cell phone calls and towers. Nobody should be able to use their cell phone. Nobody.
They didn't even have anybody on that water tower, which was there.
I know. I thought of the water tower. And this guy was able to put his own drone. So the shooter used a drone to scope the place out, but the Secret Service couldn't get a drone up. It's crazy.
Well, remember, a fish rots from the head down. So we're talking about Joe Biden. So as inept as he was, Joe and Tom, it just filtered down to the rest of the organizations.
Yeah.
We got an idiot for president. Why bother doing anything for President Trump?
Well, I think the lack of security at Butler was all by design, quite frankly. So it is what it is there. But
it's just,
Tom,
you got a point. I mean, when you have incompetence it goes all the way through. But I'm with you. There's somewhere along the line, when you look at all the mistakes that were made,
Mhm.
and you have to ask yourself, you couldn't have done a worse. You couldn't have done a worse job if you actually did it. I mean, if this was purposely designed to do this, you couldn't have done anything worse.
But we had a texter just text in and said, your cop could have just shot in the air. The fact that he,
just fired off a
shooting in
couple
the
of
air.
rounds that would have alerted everybody. They would have gotten Trump off the stage,
Yeah.
and the sniper wouldn't have fired.
That's it. First of all, Trump would have been surrounded, even though he had the little midget woman there that came up to his waist.
Yeah,
But
I
it didn't
know.
matter, right? They would have surrounded Trump. The snipers would have turned their attention. They would have seen a kid with a rifle and look at the shot.
They would have looked towards the shooting, and they would have seen him and taken action. But I mean, even I would have stood there, just put my hand up over the roof, over the edge of the roof, and fired in his general direction.
Yeah.
You just
At
want
that point,
to
it would
annoy
have
the shooter.
run right up his pants legs. That from that angle. Yeah, not a problem. But yeah, but look at this sniper. That once the sniper realized what was going on, the guy leveled, took aim, and from what 400 yards, he put a bullet between his eyes. That's some good shooting.
About 150 or so. But I mean,
Oh, is it 150?
The bad guy got off what 6 or 8 shots.
Yeah, because 2 people were serious, other than Corey, who was killed.
Yeah.
While he was shielding his daughter and wife, he ended up paying the price. But 2 other people were seriously injured. I mean, they're recovered. They're okay now, but they were seriously injured by being shot. So, yeah, and I remember that too, Dawn, and you're taking Tom as well. The crowd that was on the stage, because they had people sitting behind Trump, on kind of the stadium type things, they were so calm and cool. I mean, Corey protected, they dived and everything, but they didn't all stand up and stampede. And I thought that was very impressive.
That was, I mean, that to me, maybe it kind of tells the difference between our side and their side.
I was just going to say that's a mega supporter being shot at versus a nose ring, pink hair, progressive liberal.
Amen, Joe. Amen, Tom. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Don. Any final thought?
No, that's it, guys. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot. Catch you later, Joe. Tom Russ. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. So this Virginia situation, Tom, they put on hold. I mean, it was so blatant in what they were trying to do, what was going on there.
I mean, this is one of those things you like. So, well, we're only going to do this temporary.
Yeah, there's
if the word temporary comes in
like our income tax was.
Yeah, that's number one. That's a lie. That's the first government lie. But that should have told any serious person that this was unconstitutional. If you step back and say, well, we're just going to do this one time. That should have been that's like a red flag that says, yeah, really? Why do it just the one time if this is constitutional?
Yeah. Well, this judge, good for him for doing this. I mean, key actions on this order, all votes from April 21st special election are effective, right? So they just don't count. He put the injunction blocking the State Board of Elections and officials from certifying those results. And more importantly, there's an injunction stopping them from implementing any new maps. And the current congressional districts have to stay in place for now. And the reasons the judge talked about this, Democrats violated multiple state constitutional procedure rules, including improper use of a special session and timing requirements for constitutional amendments. So what they were doing was kind of disgusting to begin with. Then they didn't even do the process right. And then the judge said the ballot language was flagrantly misleading. And man, that's something we've talked about when it comes to referendum questions over the years. The way they're worded, a lot of people don't understand. They vote the wrong way, thinking they were saying yes to something when they said no, or vice versa. And the judge said that, hey, this process skipped required steps like passage by 2 successive General Assemblies with an intervening election. So they didn't hit any of the marks on this. So the bottom line for now, major win for Republicans, RNC, NRCC, and GOP congressmen like Ben Cline, Morgan Griffith. the Democrat favored map, it's on ice, but higher courts are going to have the final say in this. So, but for now,
Yeah.
they
Now
can't
here's
do
the
this.
question I would throw back is this: is the longer you delay this, the less likely you can, because you really, I mean, what are you going to do? Like October the 15th? Oh, now the new map comes into play, especially after you've done early voting. So it seems to me that at this point, logistically speaking, this should end it in the sense that you literally have, you just can't just simply say, oh, we're going to have this election and we'll just decide, you know, how we deal with it later as far as the lines go. You know what? Because you just can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me, let me put it this way. It seems to me that you wouldn't be able to do that. There's a point somewhere where, let's say, there's a point of no return where you cannot switch, because it would basically, you know, taint the entire election process at that point, because people have early voting. You got all of these things coming into play. So you really just can't sit back and say, well, now that the courts have decided one way or the other, we're going to just go with what they decide, as opposed to saying, well, you know, it's kind of late now. And to me, somewhere along the line, someone's going to say, well, you can't do it this election because the complication is there, and you just, you know, we just can't do it from from a process point of view. That's my view. What do you think?
Yeah. Look, I'm glad the court stepped into this, but here's the other thing. You know, Tom, we've known each other long enough. You know, one of my pet peeves are voter fraud, and I think that all elections should be paper ballots. Yeah. Nobody can explain or justify. Don't even explain. You can't explain it. You can't justify why a voting machine at a polling place needs to be connected to the internet, or it needs to be electronic. It doesn't. Yeah. Right? So paper ballots, same-day elections, basically everything that's in the Save America Act should be implemented. We had countries like France who tried that whole electronic thing. Now they went back to paper ballots because you can't hack a paper ballot. And then, you know, this whole thing with voting in taking mail-in votes with postmarks after the election day, that's ludicrous. I mean, that just means people waited to see what the result was, and then they jumped a bunch of stuff.
Well, you know, here's the thing that comes into play. I mean, in the state of Iowa, we have had voter ID for quite a few years. And one of the things that the President Secretary of State has done very well is two things. Number one, he's updated the voter roll. B,
tell people what state you're in, Tom, so they have a reference.
Yeah, they have
you're in Iowa.
Yeah, they have a direct, you know, they have rules on, you know, direct mail, how that has to be handled. And you got voter ID. Mm-hmm. And I say it because years and years ago, you know, my daughter, my oldest, was still on the voting roll for years.
Yeah.
Until this guy finally cleaned everything up. In other words, somebody could have walked in and said, I am, you know, Tom Donaldson's daughter, and they would have known because there was no voter ID at the time. So now you got voter ID that stops. You got the voter rolls up. Now they do have a fairly lengthy, you know, pre-election, but they also have the availability. I mean, literally, you know, for about 20 days, you can go to any shopping mall and vote. You can go downtown and vote. And so in effect, there's no reason not to be able to vote.
Yeah. And I have some strong feelings in that. I'll share that. We're going to have to take the bottom of the hour break here in a few seconds. And we'll come back on the other side. But basically, in addition to the paper ballots, that mail-in voting, we've always had mail-in vote. It was called absentee voting. If you were in the military, or you knew you were going to be away, or you have health issues that limit your mobility, you'd call your city clerk. They would mail the ballot to the address of record, and you would sign it. They'd look at the signature, put it back. But we're going to take our break here, and we'll come back with the final segment on the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000. Lines open and available. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. Back on the other side.
This is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, right here on WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response, Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. Help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
Gaitan Family Farms brings you terrific farm-to-table coffee from Guatemala's volcanic soils and the world's finest regions. Bold, aromatic, sustainably grown beans picked and shipped straight to you for ultimate freshness. Crafted by third-generation farmer Silas Gaitan, it's coffee with heritage. Free shipping on all orders. Shop now at gaitanfarms.com and taste the difference.
This is Joe Mangiacotti, and for our WCRN listeners, we have a shortcut, bestcupofjoe.com. One word, bestcupofjoe.com. Gaitan Farms Coffee. It's fantastic coffee. Life is busy and mealtime shouldn't be a burden. Heart to Home Meals makes it easy to stock your freezer with delicious chef-prepared meals designed with seniors in mind. Choose from over 150 options, including hearty favorites and lighter choices. Then simply heat and enjoy when you're ready. No subscription, no minimum order, no hidden fees, and delivery is always free, brought right to your door by local drivers. Heart to Home Meals, more time enjoying life, less time worrying about dinner. All right, folks, welcome back to the final segment here in the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. That is Radio Central. And you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line is running as well. That's simple, 617-297-8388. We got a text here, 622. All pre-Trump rallies, now you should use big panels of bulletproof glass. Solves the problem. They kind of have. Have you noticed now that other than the teleprompter, you are now seeing, Trump behind glass things in the outdoor? They have made those changes. They've also knocked down the number of ones that they are doing. And I want to remind folks that this hour of the Joe Mangiacotti Show is sponsored in part by Heart to Home Meals. Delicious, ready-to-eat meals for seniors, delivered free with no subscription required. You heard the spot during the break on that. And also, of course, I got to say, Gaitan Farms. That's what's in this Joe Mangiacotti Show Yeti mug on my desk. It's Guatemalan coffee. It's great coffee. And we did create that shortcut. It's gaitanfarms.com. But for our listeners, you just go to thebestcupofjoe.com. Get it, Tom, bestcupofjoe.com. And yeah, Joe being the old slang for a cup of coffee. I just wanted to finish my thoughts going in the break about the voter. So ballot, paper ballots, no reason for that to be connected to the internet. No reason that the counter, right? That's all we need is a basic computer counted so that the number of people who checked in at the folding table matches the number of ballots cast and the number of people checked out. And no, all of a sudden, oh, Gladys forgot there's another box of ballots in her trunk. No, what the hell? If lost the chain of custody and it wasn't taken from the polling place by a police officer to the clerk's office, I don't think they should be allowed to be submitted, period. And I understand, oh, my vote. Well, vote the right way, and that's that. And the other, thing on this is, Tom, and I don't know what your take is. I don't think we've talked about it. I think you've heard me say this. I am not in favor of any automatic voting at all. To me, when you automatically register people just because they got a license or something, you put one in the chamber and that person's never going to use it. So when you do all the work and you automatically register people to vote, the chances of them voting are very slim, because if they were going to vote, they would have taken the steps to do it. They would have put the effort in to register to vote. If you're registering people that barely know they're being registered, you're allowing a vote to sit, or the ability to vote, to someone who's probably never going to use that because we have low voter turnout. I don't believe in that. I think for you to vote, it has to be a very conscious thing that you made an effort to go register. And I do agree with the Save America Act. The first time that you register, you should have to show a birth certificate or paperwork that you're eligible to vote. After that, you just show an ID at the polling places. I just don't get why that is a hard thing in any kind of argument about it. You saying it's racist is absolutely the most racist thing you can say, because you're implying that people of color or certain ethnic groups don't have the ability to have an ID. How asinine is that, Tom?
Well, we're going to put it this way. Everybody.
Well, I think your mic's down. Let's knock it up. Go ahead. Whoops. Give me 1 second. And there you go. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, if you can't take the physical act to go down and register, that's on you. And this idea, well, just because I get a driver's license, because the other aspect is that it makes it a lot easier for, let's say, illegal people who shouldn't be registered to register. In other words, you nearly have to make that conscientious effort to do so. The purpose is to set up roadblocks against corruption. And there's nothing wrong with doing it. Once you get rid of those roadblocks, I mean, that's what happened in 2020. You literally got rid of all the roadblocks that we had in place to reduce the amount of, possible voter fraud. And the fact that nobody has been willing to and the fact that one side is not even willing to do that much tells you everything you need to know exactly what their objectives are.
Yeah. And the other thing
here's to me, I always have, I've been in politics today. I have red flags. If it takes you 40 days to count a ballot after the election, that's a red flag.
Something's wrong.
If you find that you have 10 elections in which one side's winning, 40 days later they're losing or they've lost, that's a red flag. And so
100% on this.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's reds, and so to me, to me, these are red flags. Or you stop voting count in the middle of a, well, we got to stop for 3
hours. When did we
start
start doing that? Like I said, I have 40 years in the media, in news or something. And I'm like, when the hell did we start taking a break in the middle of counting? We used to just count, and around midnight, 1 a.m, we always knew who the next president was. Now they're breaking, and then when they come back, there's an 800,000, like in Pennsylvania, almost 780,000 swing when they turn things back on, because these were dumps in the middle. It's just crazy. And the other thing, Tom, is the voter lists have got to be purged, and I know the left wants that to be a bad term. Purging a voter list means you're just checking that everybody on there is eligible to vote. And here's the thing. What have we discovered since the 2020 election? That voter lists that are being purged, then all of a sudden, a month to 2 months after the purging, thousands of people are back on the rolls that shouldn't be. So they go through the purge, then they get fattened up again with ineligible voters. And I think this is a lot of this stuff, especially because in 2020 we had these illegal changes made to voting. And what I mean by illegal, folks, for those who didn't follow that, is it's clear the Constitution says that the voting will be done by states, and the state legislature makes all the voting rules and how it's to be done. But during the pandemic, under the guise of this being an emergency, there were Secretary of States or governors that just changed the voting rules without the state legislature approving it. That, by the Constitution, is not allowed. Is that not by definition illegally done?
Yeah, I mean, I can say, all you got to do is think of it this way: in 2020, if you had any major roadblock you had to protect the voting integrity, were simply taken off the table. Due to quote unquote an emergency. And to me, And again, these are red flags. And somewhere along the line, if somebody says, I mean, again, it doesn't necessarily mean that Joe Biden didn't win the election, but it does mean that there's enough red flags that you got to look at and just say to yourself, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because in a future election, it may even be more consequential.
Yeah. It warrants a good investigation and a good look at. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Tom from Brockton did just that. He dialed 508-871-7000. Hey, Tom, good morning. What say you?
In Massachusetts in 2020, at my house in Brockton, I received 3 unsolicited absentee ballot requests of people that no longer live at my residence. And all it took was a simple signature, and you dated. Nothing to prove who you were, not last 4 of social, not birth date, not last 4 of state-issued ID. And I had a friend of mine, she's on Facebook, who lives in an apartment complex off West Street. I won't name her name. But what she did is she had been in her apartment for about 3 years. She got ballot requests from people that used to live at her apartment, and she scribbled the names sideways, just total illegible signatures. Filmed it on her video phone and showed me that, of a short time later, got actual ballots to vote in the primary. And I told her, do not post that on Facebook. If you do that, you have no clue what the state of Massachusetts will do to you, because you just committed perjury. And she said, well, I'm trying to show what's going on here. I said, I understand that, but you do not have the money to defend yourself.
Right. You're embarrassed the state, and they'll go after you. I get it.
Yeah, of course. And, with regards to absentee voting, I am now a Massachusetts voter because, I own property in West Virginia and here. I changed my voter registration to Massachusetts this time because of the governor's race. But in the 2024 election, I actually got to vote via internet on a secure connection when I was visiting my wife in the Philippines. However, for me to do that, I had to go to the Secretary of State of West Virginia, my local county, show my passport, show my driver's license, and under the penalty of perjury that, I wasn't committing voter fraud. And you are correct what you said, that to register to vote, you should have to prove citizenship. And unfortunately, we have another Caspar milquetoast Republican by the name of Thune that won't allow this to go for a vote.
Yeah. What the hell is
and
he
we something, I don't know who's funding him or whatever, but, I'm tired of guys like Mittens Romney that they just remind me of effeminate men getting into a fight of, oh, you brute. They just remind me something off of Blazing Saddles.
I was about to say that.
No, I mean,
brute.
Yeah, no, and we literally are at a tipping point in this country, because God forbid, if the Republicans, if the Democrats win in 2028, the presidency, the House, and the Senate, they are going to get rid of the filibuster. They are going to make Puerto Rico and D.C. 51st states, and they are going to stack the Supreme Court. And
well, they told us they were going to
whatever-
do it, Tom. So when they tell you
I
what
know
they're
they
going to
did.
do, believe them, folks.
I
Why
know
would
that.
they
And
not? They said straight out, Carvel is out there doing it, and then you have actual members of Congress who are saying the same thing.
Of course.
And they're letting people like AOC actually help make laws. So figure that one out.
No, and thank God for Joe Manchin. He was the last common sense Democrat who said no. And it cost him his election,
Yeah. Well, I think Fetterman's doing a pretty good job of standing up
I
and
agree.
thinking for his own too.
I agree. And I actually, in 2020, I was making fun of John Fetterman on social media, but I have an awful lot of respect for him. And I actually owe him an apology if I was ever to meet him in person.
Well, put it on the record right now, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and, but we are in very, very this is the Titanic right now. And unfortunately, we have Republicans saying it's only an iceberg. And by the way, after last night with what happened at the correspondence dinner, I do remember Kareem Jeffries saying, or Hakeem Jeffries, excuse me, that how white supremacy and MAGA Republicans are the most violent threat to this country. And it turns out, and I'm not blaming any race, but the young man was a man of color from California. And the amount of vitriol.
Wait. Are you talking about the one who shot the Secret Service agent last night?
Yeah.
No, I saw his picture. He's, well, I don't know, white, but he's not like African American. Yeah. I mean, the picture of them with his shirt off, with his face down on the carpet last night, he looked actually very white. But then I saw a picture of him because, he got awarded Teacher of the Year, by the way. And in the picture online of him smiling for the Teacher of the Year award, he looks maybe Hispanic.
I would say he's African American by the texture of his hair, but
half and half, maybe. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, and you know something, and all I remember is that if I go back prior to President Obama, anybody that was racially mixed in this country, which obviously African Americans are, they were always considered black. Then the term biracial came into the lexicon. But, I see these attacks getting worse in the future. I really see it. And I blame it on a media that is demonizing people like yourself and me that, hey, we want to go back to a sense of normalcy in this country. And no, I don't want globalism. And no, I don't want open borders. And what has happened with me, with classmates, as far as Facebook, many have defriended me, and it doesn't bother me. And as I've told them that, you know what, you can't insult me. I'm like a duck in a rainstorm. And I do remember the old fables of our youth that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Yeah. And the other problem we have in this country, remember the fable, the camel's foot in the tent?
The nose under the tent, yeah.
Yeah, well, guess what? That's essentially what's happening with Islam in this country now. And I'm going to make the prediction one more time that within 5 years, you will hear an organization like Council of Islamic American Relations say your laws against polygamy are unconstitutional. We've had 1,400 years of marrying multiple wives. And did you know in the Philippines, because of the terrorism that had happened in the past in the Mindanao province with Muslims blowing up people, blowing up jeepneys and shooting people, the Philippines government compromised. You can now have up to 4 wives in the Philippines if you can prove that you are a true follower of Islam. That's the camel's nose into the tent.
And it's happening here. Look, when we have, go on, you can see the pictures of praying, the daily prayers they do. Never mind Dearborn, Michigan, where you hear the call to prayer. But look, the Muslim faith in the Quran, i.e. Sharia law, cannot coexist in the country that is based on the Constitution. They're opposing each other. And as far as I'm concerned, Ilhan Omar and every other Muslim who takes the oath of office to be a member of Congress, I think someone should ask that question. So does this mean that your oath or your belief in your religion you've set aside to become a congressperson because you've just taken this oath and you're sworn to it, and you did it on the Quran, by the way? So which is going to supersede the other? The tenets of your faith or the Constitution and the laws of the United States, because they don't exist in the same room.
No, they don't. And all we have to do is see what's going on in Ireland, England, France, Germany, Denmark. And at some point, to me, this is all by design. There really never was a problem in England with people from Pakistan that immigrated to them back in the 60s, other than maybe some racial comments from local people calling them Pakis. But Indians have certainly adopted very well that are Sikhs and Hindus in England. They've assimilated extremely well.
Well, remember,
And-
the Sikhs, Tom, were actually created as an answer to the Muslims who were killing and conquering. The Sikhs,
I know that.
They became into existence to fight the Muslim takeover. So yeah, they're much better at assimilating because they get it.
Well, and that's the other thing that unfortunately our universities will not tell you about the encroachment that happened with regards to the Ottoman Empire. And I probably mentioned it once before. In 1683, Vienna was surrounded by 200,000 soldiers of the Ottoman Empire that were Muslim, that gave that city a choice. Lay down your weapons, give up your city, and convert, or if we take over, it's all over for you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for the Pope of Poland at that time. His King John, I forget his last name, but he sent in 80,000 soldiers to defend Vienna. And like I said, it honestly is an invasive religion. And ever since 2001, all I heard about Islam back then was Islam is a peaceful and tolerant religion. The only thing I knew about it was, well, Malcolm X was a Muslim, Muhammad Ali was a Muslim, a lot of prominent black people converted to Islam, and they weren't blowing up people, they weren't murdering people. Well, everything's changed.
Yeah. Look, I mean, Jefferson went to the Barbary Coast, right? And said, because they were attacking our ships. And Jefferson's like, what the hell's going on? So they actually went and they asked them, Barbary Coast, well, why do you attack our ships? We haven't done anything to you. And the answer was, because we can't, because our Quran says we must. And remember, if you either have to convert to Muslim or you're going to pay a tax, which is a hajiz, which is supposed to be humiliating for you. And you're supposed to kneel to pay this, whatever you're paying for the tax. It doesn't have to be cash, by the way. It can be items. And so that's what he told Jefferson. And Jefferson said, oh, all right, thanks for clarifying that. And then he sent our Navy to kick their butts. But
yes,
it's just we got to know this, guys. You got to pay attention to this. And absolutely, I watch a lot of the social media posts from England and Ireland about this. And I was going to bring up on today's show, but then everything happened last night, a case where a young man actually stepped in because an immigrant, illegal, I don't know if they're technically illegal because they kind of opened the border in the channel, but a Muslim immigrant that was in England was attempting to rape his girlfriend. And he went to intervene and got stabbed for that effort to protect his girlfriend. Do you know that this guy was not charged for the attempted rape, but he was actually charged and jailed for stepping in to hurt this guy and stopping him from raping his girlfriend? That's bizarro world, Tom and Tom. This is absolutely bizarro world. Up is down, down is up. What do you seriously? But that's where they are over there.
Well, and I also think it's something that's going on in the Western world with regards to people of European extraction, that somehow we've been brainwashed that how evil we are. We're the only race that's ever committed any sins whatsoever. And that is not true at all. Not true at all. And what you said earlier about how they had to kneel to pay the taxes, let's go back to the summer of 2020 when you had white people in the country in public kneeling to black people, kissing their feet, saying, please forgive me for being white. There's something very wrong that's going on.
What about Nancy Pelosi and all of them who were kneeling
in
the rotunda?
Yeah, with their dashikis or their kente cloth on. I remember. Yep.
And then what happened, folks? Not the movement. Separate the movement. The idea of the movement is fine, lofty. I get that. But the organization, the people in charge of that had no idea. And she said she didn't know she had to pay taxes. And she said, when I'm told I got to pay taxes on this $96 million, I feel threatened and it's triggering. And I'm like, you have no business running a charity that brought in nearly $100 million, and you're tax exempt, and you're buying mansions. And remember, she employed her ne'er-do-well boyfriend as security, and they bought the mansion in LA, the one in Canada. It's crazy, and it's got to wait. Don't you think that if you and I somehow never filed taxes and had a charity that brought in $100 million and used it for our own personal use, that we'd probably be in a federal prison?
Yeah, and 2 words: Richard Hatch, the first winner of Survivor back in 2001. Okay,
yeah,
won $1 million. He never filed it with the IRS. He ended up doing a year in prison.
Yeah, and had to pay it back.
No,
and a lot of these the jamokes on that reality show, and I don't watch the show, I just see the news about this. A couple of them, but one of them, I guess he was also a DJ or something. He ended up in big trouble with the IRS either, because these kids that were, Jersey Shore punks at one time, all of a sudden started making 7 figures and didn't really understand, you got to pay some taxes. So, one of them went to jail and got in some trouble. And then I'm seeing Sophie Rain. She's on X, and I don't know, I guess she's an artist. I couldn't name a song of hers, but she reveals on a podcast that she paid $30,710,000 in taxes last year. And she said, hey, I pay a lot of taxes. I pay 37% of federal taxes. I made $83 million last year. Good for her. Wow.
Yeah.
She paid 37% of that. And and she said, hey, and what do I do with the $40 million left over? She says she's investing it. She's, getting properties, that kind of thing. But you've got these, wasn't it Cardi B, whatever, that is now supporting Trump, who realized, I build this empire, I make all this money, and how much goes out? And when they say rich, and this bothers me when they say rich people don't pay taxes, that the top 10% of the earners of this country pay 73% of the taxes used. So don't say that the rich people aren't paying their fair tax, and the lower 50% pay about 3% of what we spend in America.
Yeah,
so
of course,
it is what it is. I'm sorry, Tom, you wanted to chime in on that?
I know we're running up against time here, but all you got to do is look at what's going on, like in California with the wealth tax, and how many people have said, you know what, I'm out of here. That's revenue and the trillions that California are not going to get. I mean, we're talking literally people worth in the trillions or in the billions and trillions, basically saying, we're out of here and you're not going to touch us, which is the reason why now you're seeing states as well as like Canada talking about exit tax. Namely, if you leave, we're still going to try to get money from you.
Yeah, and I think that they got to challenge that. That's just crazy. Hey, Tom, we are against the clock. Yeah, final thought, Tom, from Brockton.
Liberalism is truly a mental disorder. Take care, guys.
Fair enough. Take care. Thanks for the call. Yeah, we are against the clock. We got about a minute left, Tom. Anything you want to add to the Virginia setback, to the shooting, attempted assassinations last night?
I'm going to just put very briefly is this. We're at a point in history where if we don't start, if we don't start basically deciding that we're not the enemy of each other, but just some political opponents with disagreements, this is only going to get worse. And until the media and until those on the other side take the log out of their eyes while criticizing and specking ours, this gets worse.
Absolutely.
It's time for them to take the log out of their eyes.
You got it. Tom, thanks for joining. And of course, you can hear Tom on the weekly report with myself and George Landreth, also the host of the Donaldson Files. Thanks to Heart to Home Meals for sponsoring the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Over 150 chef-prepared options, easy to heat, easy to enjoy, delivered free. I do love it. I do use it, folks. But that will wrap it up for this Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Back next Sunday morning. And I'll be back with Jerry Doherty as well, back at 10 o'clock for next week. Couldn't make it this week. Tom, have a great weekend. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your day. All right,
this
folks.
is
Joe
Radio
out.
Central, 830 WCRN, Worcester.